Welcome to VetMore Podcast, where science defies boundaries and medicine evolves one species at a time. From the microscopic to the monumental, every species tells a story. This is the VetMore Podcast, conversations at the crossroad of veterinary medicine, human health, and biomedical innovation. I am your host, Vassiliki Stathopoulou, a vet with a special focus in internal medicine, diagnostic, and interventional endoscopy. Welcome to another episode of the VetMore Podcast, where we dive into the lives, passions, and inspirations behind the professionals who shape the healthcare sciences. And today, we have a very special episode with a Croatian spirit. So joining me are three incredible veterinarians, a leader in the small animal veterinary community, and two dedicated professors from the University of Zagreb, the Faculty of the Veterinary Medicine. They run marathons, they dive into depths, lift beyond limits, and heal patients every day. They are mothers, they are teachers, they are businesswomen. Not only are they respected academics and clinicians, but they're also passionate athletes, a marathon runner, an apnea diver, and a CrossFit enthusiast. So we will explore how the veterinary medicine and sports became part of their DNA and how they find resilience, joy, and meaning in their everyday lives. So get ready for a very inspiring, honest, and energizing conversation. Lea graduated from the Veterinary Faculty of Zagreb in Croatia, and she is the founder of the Small Animal Veterinary Clinic in Zagreb. So she is a clinical practitioner in Croatia, where she's working as a veterinary surgeon, mostly in the field of veterinary orthopedics, neurology, and neurosurgery. She is the president of the Croatian Small Animal Veterinary section within the Croatia Veterinary Chamber, and she's an organizer of several educational events in Croatia for small animal practitioners and veterinary technicians as well. She is the FECAVA director for the Croatian Small Animal Veterinary section, active in very many working groups, the chair of FECAVA and Scholarship Committee. She is also a WSAVA representative for the Croatian Small Animal Veterinary section, and the WSAVA Continuous Education Committee member. She is a founding member of the Eastern European Regional Veterinary Congress. She is a very, very active member of the European veterinary community. Iva, on the other hand, she's a young mother of two teenage daughters, loves to cook and to hide, and often argues with one crazy dog and two irritating cats. Believe me, I know how it feels. She loves to run long distances. She has managed to run 4 marathons and 2 ultra marathons, and plans to run at least another 50 for the next 40 to 50 years. So one of her biggest fears is, though, of being dependent on someone. Let's ask her about that. She has graduated from the veterinary faculty in 2006 and started working in a dog shelter, and then spent 3 years as a practitioner in a private clinic. And from 2009, she is a professor at the Clinic of Internal Diseases at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Zagreb as an associate professor and lecturer for the last 4 years, and a head of the clinic. And she's also the author of several scientific and professional articles. And Ines is a mother of 2 sons, an 8-month-old and a 7-year-old, that loves to travel, hike, and sleep in the tent. She will tell us about her experiences. She is also a mom to a retired 14-year-old Belgian Malinois, whom she used to train agility with. Her love for diving and water sports is lifelong, and so far, she has dived with killer whales and sea lions, and she's currently hoping to make this list longer. She was a competitive free diver and was ranked 6th in the world at the 2016 CMSA Indoor World Championship in 2 disciplines, static and dynamic no fins. And she will tell us about her experience in the championships. She also used to run a bit, and her biggest accomplishment was finishing a half marathon in Vienna. She graduated the veterinary faculty, the University of Zagreb. They have so long, CVs and amazing CVs. I'm so enthusiastic about them. She's a professor at the University of Zagreb as well, at the veterinary faculty, and she initially started volunteering at the internal medicine clinic, where she is currently employed as a dog. She's the author of multiple scientific articles as well, and she works professionally with patients for the last 14 years and has a special interest in veterinary cardiology. And of course, besides cardiology, working with students is what she likes most about her job. So, Lea, where you are today? Tell us where in the world you are officially now.
So greetings from Legoland city, Billund in Denmark. It is a very small city, 6,000 people, but with the airport, because people from all around Europe coming here to see the biggest Legoland in the world with the biggest Lego shop in the world. And I have to say it's amazing. Sleeping in a Lego castle and seeing all these amazing.
This is where you should take the kids, Ines.
Yeah,
Plan.
sounds like a plan.
So are you there for the Fakava?
Yes,
meeting?
we were invited by Danish Small Animal Veterinary Association to have a council meeting, spring council meeting here, joined with their annual council meeting because of certain communication for the future. So now I'm here for 3 days, flying home in the afternoon.
Great, and thank you for being with us. And Iva and Ines, you're in Zagreb.
Yep, I'm
Yep.
home.
In the
Yep.
sunny Zagreb, huh?
Yes,
Yeah, we can hear your birds.
yeah, they're
Yes,
really
please,
nice.
please put her in the frame. So, what is your earliest memory of wanting to become a veterinarian? You know, what was the time that you decided that I want to become a veterinarian? Let's go back to the early stage of your
I
childhood.
don't have any memory before that, so that was the only option. I remember reading the James Herriot books about being the vet and treating dogs, and I think then I was just James. It was the only thing that I could do, I think.
So was it a moment? Was it a person?
No, it was just, my family never had animals, so they were pretty surprised because how come, we didn't have any animal and I really wanted a dog. So I think I was like age 7 or so when I told my whole family that I don't want any presents for birthdays and I don't know, Christmas. I just wanted money so I can buy myself a dog because my parents were afraid if we take a dog from shelter, we wouldn't know what we're getting.
That was the
10
mentality back then, though.
Yeah.
It was not just your parents, it was just the mentality.
So at age 10, I got myself a dog. And
Okay.
that was it. That's
That was
just
it.
the way it started. And then I got snails, birds, frogs, snakes. I don't know, you name it, I've got it. Definitely.
You know, I've heard this story many times that many of the vets in their homes, they never used to have pets. It's not this, notion that we have that just becoming a vet is supposedly makes you being grown up in an environment that has many pets. And that's not the
No,
case.
and I had some bad experiences. I was bitten by a cat when I was, I think, 2 or 3, because I only have an image of my hand with a wound and emergency. And I was bitten really hard from a German Shepherd from my neighbors. So I remember, maybe I was like 4 or 5. And I remember the neighbors, they were carrying me to my parents, and I remember the blood and everything, but it wasn't something that rejected me. It was something that made me more interested in dogs and cats.
Hopefully. Ines? How about you?
Well, similar to Eva, I always collected different animals. I had a really good friend of mine from the childhood. We collected like hedgehogs, crows, and any animal that we thought was wounded, we tried to save her. So yeah, my parents also didn't allow me to have a dog. So my Belgian Malinois is my first dog. Before that, I only had like a parrot and bunnies. But yeah, I just always liked animals, wanted to save them. So from that, it just grew up into me being a vet.
Okay. Lea?
Being with parents that were vets but never worked in their practice. At that time, it was not possible to work in a small animal practice, but they were judges on dog shows around Europe and involving clinology in giant schnauzer breeding. So I was basically from
You were the handler as well? You were a handler in
on
dog
junior
shows?
handling as well, yeah. And that was some kind of world where I lived in and raised in, and contact with dog was something that was very normal for me. I was not aware that there are families that don't have a dog. So when I asked, where is the dog? They said, there is no dog. When he will come home, they don't have a dog, and it's a shock for the kid that there is a family that doesn't have a dog. On the other hand, for me, it was very natural that way, although never parents influenced on me. They just said, I think you chose the best, the best study you
Career
best
path.
profession,
Yes.
best career. And something that I realized really quick after that, love for animals is not anything, doesn't have anything with the profession. You can be a professional in your field and you don't have to have the emotion. If you have emotion, it can be advanced, but it can be, for some people, for some professionals, a step they cannot.
It can be limiting.
Yeah,
and I
it
think
can be
that
limiting.
the same goes with a human
Yes, of
doctors.
course.
But it's always, I think, ideal if you love what you're doing, but you also love the object of your
Of course.
profession, which for us is animals. So growing up in Croatia, was it, what was the general attitude towards animals and veterinary medicine back then? Did it feel like the normal thing to do, or was it daring for women to get into these studies, and also to later on the small animal veterinary sector, which was not, as Lea said,
We are
very
from
developed?
Zagreb. It's a capital city. For us, it's a different attitude, a different culture, maybe different school before. And we were raised maybe in a different way. On the other hand, there are many colleagues that came from other part of Croatia, and I'm sure they have a different culture and different background. With educated parents, from all of us, somehow it was normal maybe to go study somewhere. It is, something that you really have to plan in advance, and your family has to somehow be able to give you this chance to go study. Maybe we cannot represent everyone.
Yeah, I know. But what
On
was
the
the
other hand,
general? I know that,
with the background of parents that were really connected, somehow I can say that it didn't sound very far, that it was not something that is not achievable to me. It was very natural.
for the rest of you.
Yeah,
What
I think, Lea, your generation, and you're I think 1 year ahead of me, was the first generation in which there were more female students than male students. And today, I'm not sure about the statistics, but on 100 students, I think we maybe have 10 boys, 10
Yeah,
males.
I know. There is a
Everything else are girls.
feminization of the
Yeah, so the things are definitely changing.
profession.
Back then, it was still, when I said, oh, I'm going to go to the veterinary faculty, oh, you're going to put your hand in cows. This was something that I heard most often. Why aren't you a lawyer? I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be a vet.
Ines?
Yeah, I think the same. I think before us there was much more large vets, large animal vets, and now I think small practices are really growing, and hence more women also in veterinary medicine. But yeah, unfortunately, large animals are not so. There are not so many large animals in Zagreb, in Croatia, anymore. So I think girls are predominant now in veterinary medicine.
Yeah, everywhere, all around the world. And what about your studies? Was there any mentor, any professor, that shaped the way you think about veterinary medicine? I was very lucky to have a mentor at the university, and he inspired me so much. And I've talked about that in other podcasts as well. Were there any inspiring people in the university now that both of you, Eva and Ines, are working at the university, and you know how important it is to inspire the next generations?
Definitely, there was a whole generation. I couldn't just say one name. The whole generation, they changed a lot. They were like the starters of the small animal practice in our faculty. So definitely, yes.
Yeah, definitely. And I must say that I also had a pleasure to have a mentor that is a residency trained in cardiology. So it was really nice because he was basically self-trained. So I had an opportunity to work with them, which is, I think, a rare occasion in Croatia.
This self-trained thing is so common in all of the women in our generation, because we never had especially in my country, I don't know about Croatia, but we never had board certified people, and we had to just improvise and learn it the hard way sometimes, or just connecting with people all over the world. And that was very hard.
Yeah, we also had some connections, especially like in Vienna. So then you get to spend 2 or 3 months there and learn, because we had no opportunities. We couldn't afford some machines that we wanted, and there was no internet tutorials like today.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it was much harder.
Lea, was there anyone that stood out throughout your studies that you can remember?
Unfortunately, I have to say that, during our study, it was a bit different. And at that time, I could only say that I remember my anatomy professor, who was Professor Gomercic. He was really inspiring in the way he was teaching us at that time some part of the anatomy, osteotomy, and the way he was talking about his, and Professor Babic. Yeah, we really, so those two men professors were something that gave me some will to go forward. And later, I cannot say. Really, I cannot say. And I'm sorry, but I'm
No, we have
very
to be
happy
honest,
to
you
say
know, we have to
today,
be honest.
every person that is studying, they don't know how lucky they are for the opportunity they have on the university, and people working there today giving them something that we didn't have as an option.
I think the biggest default back then, the biggest disadvantage was that people did not want to share the knowledge. It was something like, it was more, the university was more introvert, and now many universities became, later on more extrovert to knowledge, to what they know, to sharing, even with their students and with other vets.
Yep. Yeah, I think
Definitely.
because they got their knowledge on the harder way. So I think in Croatia, maybe like 25 or 30 years ago, it was hard to have a good book. So when you got it, probably, maybe it was harder to share something. Today, you can have all the information that you want in 5 minutes.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And I think being, reserved and not sharing is actually a sign of insecurity as well. So this was a bit maybe a sign of being a bit insecure about revealing things that we don't know. And that's not a good thing, because you will never improve from that point. If you don't know where you are, you will never get to improve. So I know that veterinary work can be incredibly rewarding, but it can be incredibly heavy as well. Can you recall a time when this pressure, almost made you think that now I'm quitting, and I'm not going to do it anymore? How did you push through?
I didn't have that. I don't have that.
You work in a private practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because I've worked in private practice.
I always ask myself one question. What's the worst thing that can happen to me? And that's it. What's the worst thing that can happen? I'm still alive. I may feel bad. There are people that really have a bigger problems, and everything is solvable. And in 1 month, this is not going to be a problem anymore.
That's a great attitude, Lea. Especially when you're losing a patient, and if you have practiced good medicine.
Why am I there? My first will is to help. And if I just say that I'm not a Superman and I'm not in this place that I have to save every live being, I know it can sound like an excuse if you do a bad job. It's not like that. I just, we cannot do everything. And
Yeah, you
when
cannot
I
save
signed to
everyone.
be a student, and when I got my degree, it was never a signature. I have to save every life. I just have to do the best practice I can.
Exactly. You have to do good medicine to practice good medicine. And if you diagnostically approach the case as you should, if you applied the treatment that you should, yet our patients did not thrive or did not survive, then we're not gods. How do you feel, Iva?
There is a way in your head. Just a second, sorry. There is a pathway in your head, with a lot of steps that you can say that. Probably that's why we are sitting here. Yeah.
It took me 15 years longer than you to get to that place, because maybe it's like due to the character or something, I'm pretty stubborn. People who know me, they know that I always work 120%. And it's very hard for me to say that I can't do something. So I was under a lot of pressure and had a severe burnout in, I think it was 2018. And I wrote my resignation. I decided that I want to do something else. My idea was to be a plumber or something like that. Totally
A
different.
technician of some kind where
Yeah.
the pumps are not dying on me.
Yeah, I had the problem of dying patients and the responsibility. And the other thing is when you work in a large community of like 30, 40 people or 300, 400 people, then sometimes relationships are not so good as you want them to be. So that can also be a kind of problem. And then you just have to evolve to that moment when you can say, oh, I don't care. I can't do everything. I'm trying my best, and for some things, just let it go. It's perfectly fine. Like as Lea said, in 1 month, the things will be totally different.
I think that the hardest thing of all is to let go, is to say that I've done everything I could for this patient and there's nothing else to do at this point. It's
I
very
had the
hard for me.
problem.
I don't
I
know for
had to
you.
learn how to let go. I
Yeah.
had a problem with.
And at the right moment where the quality of life of the patient is not compromised, because this is another thing. This happens also to the dog parents, to the dog owners, that they don't know the exact moment where to let go, and they keep asking us. But we're there, I think, to give medical advice and not to be their friends. That's my view on that. How about you, Ines? How is the pressure of the veterinary taking a toll on you? How do you cope with that?
It can be difficult. I'm a perfectionist. So I remember once when I was talking to a friend of mine, like I said, I really hate it when I always feel like there's something I haven't done for the patient. Maybe a paper I haven't read, or why haven't I done this, or maybe read tons of different books or something. And then first the friend told me, then definitely, why are you doing internal medicine? Every patient is like that. So yeah, it's still hard for me to find, to accept that like I've done everything, at least everything that I can. I also always, talk to my colleagues. We have rounds, so I feel that's one good thing because you also have other people that can say like, yeah, I think you've done it all. And another great thing, we have a colleague that is currently in residency training for internal medicine. So like we have a hotline with her. I think she's doing internal medicine in Belgium and in Croatia every day. So it's really
And that's
nice.
great to be able to.
Yeah, that's really great. We're so happy for her. Hi, Thea, if you're gonna listen to this, when you're gonna listen to this. So yeah, but I think it's really hard because some nights I even wake up if I middle of the night, I think like, could I have done more? Or, I always think about them. It's like, it's a job that never ends. It's not like it's an 8-hour day job. It's a job that's always in your mind.
I worked with the human gastroenterologist, and human doctors seem to cope with that so much better than we do, because they know that. And I think what they have that we do not have is the dissemination of responsibility, which means that it's not just one person responsible for a patient, but multiple specialties. So it's some kind, comforting that the responsibility is disseminated to multiple doctors. Whereas in our case, when you're especially in private practice, you are the vet. You are responsible. You are the one that either saved the patient and you're treated as a god, or you lost the patient and this social media bullying maybe starts, because we have these cases.
It can be horrible.
So I think that human doctors cope better because they have a more supportive environment and the responsibility is disseminated. I don't know what's your opinion on that.
Yeah, and I think they're not as much exposed as we are.
We are very much exposed to either good or bad criticism.
Yeah, come on, can you imagine that you call your doctor like in Saturday morning to ask a question, and our patients, they call the clinic and ask, can I get to her? I need some answer.
To ask a silly question, not,
Yeah.
a life or death question.
Or if it's a life or death, can you just bring the animal without trying to contact me before? And then I feel guilt because I didn't, I don't know, look at my email on Saturday. So
Whereas-
baby just died.
Whereas once I went to a jazz concert, opened my email and found a mail from an owner that said, like, you're the most horrible person I've ever met. How could you do this to my dog? And in fact, it was one of the owners that it was really hard for her to let the dog go. And the dog was really in so much pain and suffering. And it was really difficult for me to talk to that owner. Yeah, in the end, the whole jazz concert I was just thinking about the dog and the owner.
You know that some people actually are suicidal over these kind of contacts. And this is why NOM was actually created, in order to relieve some of the stress. And to be honest, at some point at the clinic, we have thought about bringing a human psychiatrist, or a psychologist. Maybe it would be helpful for the people that do not know how to, not only for the vets, but for the clients as well, for the pet owners. Because some people do not know how to cope with grief first.
I think it's great.
We have as anger. It's this spiral, thing that first is anger, then it's sadness, then it's anger again. So I don't know how you cope with that.
Yeah, I think
We have that on our faculty.
But for the personnel, when I was in Animal Medical Center in New York,
That's
for
great.
the externship program, it was like 2010, I think. They had a person that works in Finnish social services, so they talked to every owner about like what you said, because they cannot cope with the grief and what's happening to their pet. So I think it's a really, really good thing, because to be honest, we are not equipped with knowledge for such cases. It needs a psychologist or some other profession, but I think it's not something that a regular vet is capable of doing in most cases.
Lea, has Fekaba taken any measures on this subject about handling these cases? Do you know anything about any initiatives?
So there is a whole field for mental well-being of the vets covered at the FECAVA webpage. There is a Vet Joy initiative as well that so for Croatia, I'm still trying to find that one person that is in charge. She's on a maternal leave, so I'm at the moment trying to see what can be changed.
What is this Joy program? I've never heard of that,
Vet Joy is a program dedicated on, it is FVE and FECAVA program dedicated to, let's say, life, from the idea that you would become a vet and you get a person that will give you opportunity to spend a few days in a clinic and see what vet can do.
Yes.
Through the educational part during your study, where you can have some of the mentors that could help you. And then when you finish and graduate and start to work, especially in these fields, with the support for one-to-one talk with a human psychologist. So that is the person that now I'm referring to, that it's at the moment non-active, and that's why it's under the radar in Croatia. So it is trying to promote well-being of the vets and their environment, everyday environment. So you have at the moment, this is you can apply for the best vet practice environment.
Yeah.
And then you work on your team. You get your mentor who mentor you, your mentor for your team. And then when you finish that, you can accept to be a mentor, and you somehow transfer your experience and knowledge to another young vet. In Europe, it's a good accepted, but it is just a second. Just the one initiative that we have around Europe. And yesterday and the day before, we had the working groups here. This was the one of the topics, but still a lot of materials and a lot of forums, because it is a recognized problem. You have around Europe, especially in the UK, in the States, they're much more developed and aware.
Because the pressure is very, very high.
Yeah, and
the expectations, the pressure And
But what is the pressure? What is the expectation?
of a toxic environment, of heavy case log,
It is on
of
so
dealing
many
with many
fields.
cases and with the owners as well.
Yeah, so many problems within one working day, week, month, year, career, profession, on every person working in a team. If the environment is not aware of that, something can happen. But if environment is aware of the problems, then altogether you can work on your problems. So if
I
you
think
have a
team
team,
building is a huge thing into a clinic's environment and to the university environment as well. I mean,
corporates as well.
the universities are just a hub of not toxicity. I will not say that, but just because there is a certain hierarchy, you pay respect to people that might not be, I don't know how to put it, politely, that might not be up to date with knowledge, but you have to pay respect otherwise because,
Well said.
well said.
Sounds familiar.
You said.
But I think
But the thing is that
they
respect
ask
is
him at the
earned.
moment.
Respect is not, something that comes as it's not
Hierarchy.
something that it's something that you earn with your attitude, with your
With who you are and how you do your job.
Yeah, you know that just some in the period around my burnout, there were a bunch of just talks to help me with my attitude. And one person told me that I should just accept things because this is the way it's done on the Great Britain's Queen Castle. And I said, okay. So it's just something that you get, like the privileges that you get just by being here. It's not something that I was taught. It's not in my code. I don't do things like that. So I think this is what just popped me out. That made me totally disappointed in everything.
I don't know any person that did have a burnout personally, and that is someone who is.
They had, they just didn't tell you.
It may be, I may not recognize it. So if I can ask you, how does it feel like? How does it look like? How long?
Okay, so I started
recognize it.
smoking. I started smoking quite young, okay, like 14. And then when it was 2018, the beginning of the year, so I was 37, and I thought I had lung cancer because I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I had a feeling of choking all the time. So I quit smoking in May, but this horrible feeling just, was still here, and I couldn't sleep. I was waking all the time.
like a
with,
rock in your chest, huh?
Yeah. And then something happened. It was, I think, October. I just became assistant professor, sorry. And then I thought I'm having some heart attack or this lung cancer is getting really serious. So I couldn't breathe and I end up at emergency at the hospital for lung diseases. And they did a bunch of tests and told me, no, your lungs are perfectly fine. But, you're just having panic attacks. So that's how I knew.
Eva,
It was physical.
very, very
I'm not
common.
the person that is frightened. I'm not the person that finds myself crying or something. I felt it physically. So it was horrible. Then I started some other activities and I started to learn just to let go and say, this is not so important. I just don't care. And it became
How
much
did you
better.
accept that? Did it take a time, or it's just like?
There is no time, Lea. There is no time.
I know Eva personally. She started running.
Yeah. I started
She
running.
started running.
That as well.
Yeah.
It's maybe, it's funny to say, but the moment when you feel so horrible, like you're going to die because of the running, and trust me, I was so out of everything. I hated sports. It was like 2 minutes after the start of running, I felt better. I really felt better. So, yeah, that's
Because
it.
you're overcoming, you're surpassing yourself. It's something that, sports. Okay, let's talk about that one because for me, the reason that you're here is that I have a CrossFitter, a marathon runner, and an apnea diver, all in one, and you're all vets. And for me, you make me so proud to the point that I will cry right now because I do those things. I do cry, but I'm very sensitive with things like that. How come? How did you start? Each of you have chosen a very different sport. How did you find this sport? And was it, like love at first sight? Did you choose, or were you going from one sport to the other up until you found what was your destined form of training, maybe? Ines?
So I always trained something from my early childhood. I swam, I played volleyball, basketball, even water polo. And then during summers, I was always diving. So for my brother's birthday, I bought like a lesson for free diving for both of us, and I really enjoyed it. It was great. And the person who did the training asked me if I wanted to try and train. And since I planned already a tour with killer whales, I thought like this is really great because now I can really dive with them, because otherwise you do it in it's called like a dry suit, so you basically just float above the killer whales, and I wanted to dive with them. So I remember Iva telling me they'll bring me back home in a coffin. Yeah, so I just started freediving and it went really well. Since there is like a really not so many people in that sport, as soon as you start training you have to compete. So I began competitive freediver immediately. Yeah, and in a year I went to the World Championship and I was sixth in two disciplines. It was really cool. I must admit, it was not the greatest year for them because there was like a bit of a difference between me and other competitors, but I was sixth.
Did you meet Alessia Zecchini as well?
She was first on. Yeah, I didn't talk to her, but yeah, she was there, and yeah, she was the first one. She was on first spot. Yeah, she's a great girl.
I always admire these kind of athletes, but you all chose, let's say, sports that you're doing not as a team, but that you have the capacity to do it on your own. A very lonely sports. Lea?
I would say the reason for that would be because at certain age we don't have this possibility to go and train with team sports. You can do it when you're really young and have a different
mindset.
Well, yeah, and they don't have to work and so on. So this is something you can go and run in the middle of the night. You can go do early in the morning certain things, and 7 in the morning, whatever. So you can manage it through your working day. And I was as well in different kind of sports, but somehow when people ask me why I do this, why I push my limits, I don't know, maybe some psychiatrist would tell me that. But if I turn back, I think that it helped me. I feel that it helps this 1 hour every day that I have, where I put everything bad that accumulates during the day, all the stress. It's a pipeline.
Your hour.
Obviously, it works that everything bad goes out and you concentrate on something completely else, because it is almost life or death situation at that moment. So you cannot answer the phone, think about someone's poo and, fleas and, coughing. And
is it a form of meditation for all of you?
It is, I believe, yes.
It grounds me.
It is. Yeah. It's a concentration. It's
a way of processing emotional and physical demands,
yes.
maybe of your work, of the family, because we're going to talk. All of you are mothers, and I think it's the hardest work keeping this balance. It's the hardest thing to keep a balance between your work and at the level that you're doing your work, being an athlete, and also because you're not just doing it randomly. I mean, I played volleyball and I play beach volley, but I'm not in a championship right now. I used to be, but I'm not right now. So it's a different level that you're doing what you're doing right now. And Iva, tell us about the marathon. How many marathons have you taken?
How
did you start the marathons from 0 meters to 42 kilometers?
From the person who hates sport. I never did any sport. I was a kid who hates sport. When I was like driving home every day, I live next to a big park and I saw runners. I said, come on, why are you doing that? I even said some bad words. I don't want to say them now.
Yeah, she made fun of me. She said,
don't worry.
Yeah, I made fun of Ines all the time. Because
like,
Ines
you should smoke and drink and have fun and not go running before work.
Yeah, come on. And then it's just, as I started, I couldn't run 100 meters. I was horrible. And I'm still a slow runner. But then I started running during the nights, and I did it always alone. So it was unbearable, the thought that I would do it with somebody else. Why are the runners? They're like some cult, some strange people that run together. So, but then after 5 years, I tried to prepare my first marathon, and then I broke my
For
leg.
how many years of
That
running randomly?
3 years ago.
3 years.
Yeah, and I 1 week before the marathon, I broke my leg. I had a stress fracture because I overtrained, and it was the worstest punishment I could get because I had to stop training. I tried to swim, but my technique is horrible. I tried to ride a bike, but I have zero coordination. I tried to do everything, but I'm really bad in sports. I hate sports. And then
I think she's doing wonderfully. She's just, saying those things. She's an amazing.
And
She
then
is
I
amazing.
joined and then I joined the cult. I joined the athletic club, which is the best club in Croatia for long distances. And now I do it with like 20 to 40 people, 3 to 4 times a week.
And that's only because they drink beer at the end of the training.
Yeah. We have our
Yeah.
own place for.
She has
beer
told me
drinking.
that story when I was in Zagreb. You should say that story, though.
Yeah, because if there is no beer, I'm not running. Sorry.
But at the end of every training, they
Not
are
every,
gathering.
because it would become a problem. But
Okay,
at
good.
least once a week. At least once a week.
Every now and then.
Yeah. But the good thing is, I think I mentioned that when you were in Zagreb. You see, you can do it with people, but it's very important that they are not your colleagues. Because if that moment my hobby would become my job, I don't want to hear about dying patients. I don't know what my co-runners are doing. For most of them, I really love them. I have really good friends, but I just know some basic facts about their private life. I know if you have a kid or no, but don't bring your personal problems there. And at the same time, you can say that it is definitely not a superficial relationship, because in running, you share your worst and your best moments. So you show when you're extra vulnerable and you're extra strong, and these are the people that can help you. You just don't bring your professional life or your family life or anything that you have to deal with every day. Just don't bring it.
It's this safe place of anonymity, but on the other hand, you connect in another level,
Yeah.
because you share experiences that you cannot share with other people. Ines, how is it in there in the ocean? I was always admiring these athletes, and in my family we have swimmers. My ex-husband was a champion in swimming, and he does apnea as well. My daughter, she's a national champion as well, and she's now studying in
Really?
the US. So the sea was a very, very important part of our lives.
Well, yeah, I love the sea, and as Lea said, when you train, it's it's the specific time when everything falls off of your back. So it's especially true when you submerge yourself, because I feel basically like all the pressure is just it's at the surface and I'm down below. Unfortunately, I didn't have so much training in depth. I always did more of the indoor, so pool disciplines. But yeah, I always try to dive in the sea with the animals, and I plan to do that more. But yeah, I think if I train with other people, I think it would be also a bit overstimulating for me, because during the whole day and working day, there's so many students, so many people, so many different faces and names that training solo is just a really, really good thing for me to to just relax and just finally have some silence.
So does it teach you resilience? Does it teach you patience, endurance, self-love? What,
Yeah, it
why on
teaches
earth
me.
are you doing this?
Well, it teaches me, it's one great thing is that it teaches me, I can do it, because it really is difficult. Lea said, it's a matter of life and death. When you're training apnea, like the trainings were always in the evenings. So like from 10 to 11 p.m., I would barely, it would always take me like 2 to 3 hours to fall asleep, because you hold your breath until you just, you're about to pass out. It's really.
And it's dangerous, isn't it?
Well, it can be dangerous. So it really teaches you also, to really know know your limits, but the last limit, because when you hold your breath, you have like an urge to breathe. So you have, it's like you can feel in your diaphragm an urge to breathe. So it contracts. So usually you have like up to 40 or 50 contractions. So your body really wants to breathe, but you stop it from breathing. So you really need to know your own limit, and it's a really different experience. Yeah. So it can also help, just to go through the level of feeling, through your comfort zone.
And what about weightlifting? I've seen your videos, Lea. I mean, there was an amazing podcast, Huberman Lab, and I urge you to go and listen to Huberman. He's a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and he had a guest, Dr. Stacy Sims.
I watched
And
that.
you watched that? That was an amazing. And she said that the exercise strategies in order for us women as we grow up not to be osteopenic would be jump training, resistance training, and sprint intervals training.
Yeah.
But very, very short sessions. And the best advice as not to get older is to have good muscles. So how do you cope with all the weight lifting that you're doing?
Just a fun fact.
Does it help you being in your surgeon as well?
I will check it one day when some car hit me. My bones shouldn't be breakable.
You know that we're losing 1/3 of our bones density once we hit the age of 50 years old. And for me, that was, my God, I'm going to lose 1/3 of my bones. And this is, it's a great shock.
Well,
for all women.
From the beginning, just to refer on the place where you are, I was not thinking about that for a long time, that where I come to train, no one knows me. There is no expectation, and I do it just for myself. They don't know who am I, what I'm doing, that I have kids, whatever. If someone knows, they don't talk about it because it's impolite in some way. They don't come to my private space. And it was like that for so long. And that, I think, it was very important for my development in this field, because I did it just for myself or anyone else. Because a lot of things in profession I did because I was expected to do them and want to fill someone else's expectations. This was something for me. On the other hand, it is weightlifting is, so CrossFit is broad spectrum of activities. One of them is weightlifting, one of them is gymnastics, for example. But weightlifting is something that I've learning to do. I'm not perfect at that. It's when you see the movement, it is a so complex movement of body and biomechanics that it's not, it has to start to be repeatable, but it's a long process. It's a practice, and you can always do it better. So no, I'm not the best. I'm not even close to that. It's just in this whole concept of CrossFit or functional body training, it's a part of that. And yes, then when you are under a lot of repetitive movements and exhaustion and pressure, then your muscles look a little bit different. It doesn't look in every day, but when you are at that moment in the sport, then everything like pop out and it looks a little bit scary. It's not something that I would like to have during every day. It's not something that you look like.
Yes, but it's quite an endeavor, to be honest. What are your kids saying about your athletic endeavors? Are they your cheerleaders?
No, they're totally
training partners?
For them, it's like bread and butter because they're used to that through their lives. I believe that they don't.
I think that your son is coming to the gym with you as well. He told me that.
Yeah. Well, and that was something different. I took my daughter and my son one summer, and I said, okay, you will try 1 month with me to go through my everyday work, not just work.
Oh.
You get up at 5:30, you go to train. After that, you go to work. After that, you go to, I don't know, shopping. Then you cook.
Very democratic procedures.
Whatever. So,
as I see.
and they are there, they have to work. So they helped in a clinics with animals, in a recovery room, at the reception, whatever they needed. So my daughter, she dropped out after a week, and she said, it's not normal. I cannot. This is temporary. And the son was there for a month.
Okay.
After that, never, ever. they looked me with the same eyes. They were so much more respectful, and they were,
appreciative, yes.
whatever I said, and that was years ago, they never argued. It was something that they changed. They saw how it feels like, and I think that it was worth more than 10 years of
consistency and obedience to your program. I think staying firm to your program, to your schedule, that's very, very difficult to do for some people.
But at the work, dying animals, the owners, they had to listen everything. They were there for every animal, living, dying, giving a birth.
I suppose they're not vets.
No. No.
They're definitely not gonna be.
They couldn't be.
How to train your kids not to be
Yeah.
vets.
Well, no, that was already, they were already in their minds somewhere else.
Ines, what about your kids?
Well, the one is too small, and my older son, like 2 years ago, I swam an open water marathon. It was 3.5 kilometers. It was from Kirk Island to the coast, and he was so mad he had to be there. It was boring for him, so yeah, not much of a cheerleader for me. No, but he runs with my husband, and I plan to now when he learns swimming, he's gonna have to swim with me. So we are planning some marathons
Swimming,
together. Yeah.
He will not escape that.
No.
Eva?
Well, my older one is 15. She doesn't care about anything except herself.
She's a normal 15.
Yeah, she's a normal 15.
Normal
and when
teeny.
I say, like, I have a marathon or something, or I did, last month I did an ultra marathon, and she said, okay, that was it. The whole reaction.
No enthusiasm.
No. And the younger one is 11, and she has a whistle. So sometimes she comes at my races. But I think I can notice that it's been less and less this year. So I think that they're used to that. And it's something that the mom is running again. So like Saturdays morning are the long distance trainings. And they know that Saturdays I'm not at home, either working or running, and I'm usually home like at 2 p.m. or something, and I leave home at 8. And it's funny how when they plan some things for us to do together, no, not before 2, mom is gone. So I think that's good.
Yes, because it has been somehow,
It's
implemented in their program
Yeah,
as well.
That's mine. So
Yes.
that's good.
Yes. Now, motherhood and veterinary practice and being an athlete, balance. I think that the word balance does not cope with all the other
I think it's chaos.
previous things.
Balance, chaos. Okay?
You can't. How do you cope with that?
Not
Take
me.
a deep breath, all of you. And I'm going to ask Lea, for the sake that she has 4 children. I mean, she has so many things to teach.
I don't
To
think
us?
that I'm a average mother, because it's like, how would I say, how I managed. I don't know if that should be nowadays role model, maybe in an ancient time, but without grandparents, and kids at my clinic, with wherever I could put them in any closet or drawer, just to close them in. They were with me, and basically they were very polite kids. They many times they waited until 10 o'clock in the evening, 11, going home, then get up at 6:30, going to kindergarten all day. We were living in a different city, so they were not able to go home and have a lunch, so they were just waiting for me to finish. I cannot say it was the best. On the other hand, now when I look back, maybe they didn't have me as a perfect mother, but on the other hand, they're so they never depended on me. They're very
Independent.
and I think that they have great characters, and they achieved everything that I would wish for them. And I see that they are different from the other kids because they just know how to manage everything by themselves. So once someone told me that the oldest one, you cannot talk to me like that. You were
Absent.
you were always absent. And then I said, this is not fair. This is not fair. And he never repeated that to me because I didn't have any other option. So I don't know.
Do you ever feel guilty about not being
No.
there all the time
No,
as
I don't feel
24/7
guilty. I feel
mothers?
if I look, I don't know. Indians, Eskimos, Africans, how they live, the original people. It's a little bit of survival mode. You cannot just, these kids today, everything has to be perfect and sterile, and they have to have their freedom and environment, and you give everything to them, and then they piss on you and say you didn't do anything for them. It's like, no, I think I don't see that way, but no one gave me any instructions what to do with kids. And as I said already, I'm not a fan of kids. I never had anyone's children in my arms. I'm not the one that will say, "Oh, cute kid, oh my God." It's like, I have mine. I fight for them as a lion. You cannot touch them. Only I can touch them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. I don't touch your kids. You don't touch mine.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's fair. That's fair. I will never touch your kids. Believe me, these muscles are what?
Yeah, I will be a witness because I know Lea. Don't touch her kids. Okay.
How about you? Did you ever feel guilty about not being there all the time? Because you have these night calls, night shifts, a foreign body that got always after midnight, always after midnight. I don't know why. These damn GDVs and foreign bodies are always after midnight.
No, I never felt guilty because it's not like we leave our kids under the bridge. My kids were never left alone, so they have everything that they need. They have my love. We really spend a lot of time together. But I have to have my own life. I have to have a job. So if you don't want me to have a job, first I will be crazy in 5 days, and second we'll have nothing. So it's something that just it's not non-negotiable. It's just something that I do. And they never, I think that they accepted it because that was the scenario from the start. It's not that I had kids and then changed something. It was from the beginning. And I cook, so I really love to cook. So it's not like they have nothing to eat. And I don't know, I think they're happy kids.
Ines, yours are much, much younger.
Yeah, mine are much younger.
It's more difficult when they're younger.
And I was a single mom for like 5 years, basically till my older one was like 4 months old. I was a single mom, so it was a bit difficult. And I did feel guilty, so I didn't train for quite long. I had to dislocate my shoulder and have a knee surgery to start swimming again, because then it felt like I have it was doctor's orders for me to start doing something for myself. So yeah, now my second one is like also really small, but I already plan to, since I'm not a single mom anymore, so I plan to start swimming like before my husband goes to work. So because I really need it. I need it for my physical and mental well-being. I'm so used to sports. I filter everything through sports, and I really need it. And I plan to have it.
I totally understand you. I totally understand. I was a single mom too. Now they're all grown ups. But I think that if I get to do a bit of endoscopy, to me, I would want to spend more time with the kids now that they're 22 and 18. I would have wanted back then when they were younger to have spent more time with them. But I was always very, they're always there at the clinic 24/7 during New Year's Eve because we might disappoint a patient, client, and sometimes it's very difficult to make this call. I know that they're very proud now, and your kids will be very proud of their mothers in the long run. But the thing that you lose, don't worry, I'm not crying. The thing that you lose moments of their childhood, for me now is very, very, it's quite a loss.
Do you think that I want to ask, did any one of you was confronted with the sentence, is it selfish that
Yes.
Is
And
it
to be honest, Leah, it is selfish because I did my master's because it was for me. I did my PhD because it was for me. I do my sports because it is for me. And
Is it selfish?
when we're saying, yes, it is selfish. And when we're saying to our kids, I'm working because I want to give you, a better life. Yes, it comes with that. But I think that we were doing that out of a need to fulfill some of our needs first and then for our kids. And I think that it's an
feel
excuse.
better, and then did they feel better? Or
Yes.
if you wouldn't do
That's-
it,
that's
would you
very
feel
true, though.
really bad, and you would
Yes.
spread really bad energy then?
Yeah,
Yes.
and what I think it's also you were a great role model, because you basically taught your kids how to take care of yourself, how to do stuff for yourself.
Yes.
Because if you were just at home caring for them, you would teach them that somebody needs to care for them. And you really sound like a present mom since you're saying all of this. So I think it sounds to me like we are present enough and at the same time, being a role model of how to take care of yourself. And I think, that's one of the greatest things you can give to your kids.
Who said that it couldn't go wrong in other direction? And then I could say, maybe one of them could go in a different direction, and then I could say, so I'm always questioning myself. A lot of things, it goes with some.
This self, reflection will never stop.
Stop. Yeah.
People yes, because when you have
Of
kids,
course.
it's like,
The most important thing.
it is. Sometimes maybe we don't make it seem that it is the most important thing if we come back home and we're always on the phone when we should talk to them, or always coming and leaving because we have to go somewhere, and
or being nervous because you have so many things to
Yes.
do and not being able to be present.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And I think it's especially overwhelming for women these days. And maybe Lea and Iva had an assistance as well. And this is mediated. If you have a husband that can also do at least the practical thing, take the children to the swimming pool, or this is a bit mediated when you have to do everything on your own. It's the stress levels are much higher, I think. And people out there who will listen to the podcast will relate to that as well. So how do you personally define success after everything you have achieved?
In a level of happiness.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Being authentic and happy. Yeah.
This is success, huh?
I would say because it reflects all the points that you can relate to, either health, maybe money, or material, something material, or love, or if I can say that I'm feel happy in every aspect of my life at this point, and I'm grateful that I have a part of my life where I really can be happy, and you never know when it ends. It may end on my way home. So, at this moment, I'm happy, and I really want it to stay that way as long as it can be. It may sound a little bit semantic, but, so many people around me, I see they don't have this opportunity, and so I'm somehow.
How do you cope with all this traveling and with wanting to make each and every one of you, Ines and Iva, want to make the university a better place? And I have seen that. I've been there. You're doing an amazing work there at the university. And Lea wants to make the veterinary community a better and safer place for everyone in Croatia. How do you cope with bringing changes to your environment, and how do you actually achieve that? How do you do it? And you're working, Lea, in a multicultural environment. I mean, with all the traveling and being in contact with the different associations all over Europe. Please, Iva.
You see, when you asked me about my kids and did I feel guilt, and I said no. So it's the same thing in business, because it's not about the guilt, or it's not about the want that you have to change something. It's about the awareness that you did your best. And when you talk about the kids, you can always be more with your kids and be less on the phone. I don't know. Don't go back to the endoscopy, whatever. But this is just the way it is. And you do your best. And in university, or when you think of making some things better at your work, it's not the point that you do it. It's the point that you have a team that wants to do it with you. So I think that's the best for me, because now I have the feeling that I have really, really good young people that want this change, and they're doing the change. I'm just there to support them. We have to do it together. So I think that's when you get to the point then in which you are aware that it's not up only on your shoulders, that you have the team that will help you, that you want to move in the same direction. I think it's the moment that you can succeed.
Yeah. You just come to work every day and try again.
Yep.
You just fall and come up again.
Never give up.
Never give up. That's very, very, and stay curious. This is what I always say. Stay curious,
Yeah.
Ask questions, and
Yes.
you might find answers, you might not. Your answers might lie somewhere in the future, but if you keep asking questions, some of them will be the right questions to ask at this era. Some of them will not be. Lea?
Yeah, you have the opportunity to work with younger generations and to teach them to ask questions. And, they're all better vets today in the clinic than I am. So, and I'm so proud of that. I'm really, really proud of that, because when I have a problem, I ask my younger colleagues, and that's a great feeling.
And they can also teach us so much. They teach us also so much. They take so better care of themselves, so they also teach us some new things. They're really better at that.
Simon Sinek, he's an amazing person, and he said that team is not a group of people that work together. A team is a group of people that work together and trust each other. And I think this subject, this word, trust, is the most important thing in every relationship we have with our colleagues, with our kids, with, our students, probably. And it's a matter of consistency, of building up things with a consistent way and being true to your...
Yeah, but I think I also must say, I think Iva didn't mention it enough, but she really created a great team at internal medicine. It wouldn't work if she didn't do it. She really... There are so many great people now there, and it's all her fault.
Thank you. I'm very proud of that people.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, you should be proud of yourself too.
Good people attract, good people as well.
Good people and good energy.
This is how great teams are formed. And that's the meaning of being a leader, Ines. She's leading.
She really is a great leader.
No, I've seen that.
She will have to run this
a huge honor
marathon for this.
There.
But that is something I think that may be very, very important. I don't have experience, but I see it for someone who is like you had some kind of a breakdown. It seems to me that if you have people around you that not just support you, that acknowledge that. So if someone is you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. You're really amazing. Thank you for that. It helps a lot. And I don't think that in this kind of environment, you can have a burnout syndrome. You can have it only if you have a team. It's not a team, but if you are working in the environment that is toxic for you. So it's something that if you create this that kind of atmosphere at the working place, you will have less people with the problem.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's very important to be honest and to say, okay, I had a burnout, and I'm the one that everybody thought would be the least one, the last one to have it.
Because expected.
Yeah, expected. And the other thing is when you see somebody is on the edge, just take a day off. It's a nice sunny day. Everything will be fine.
Yeah.
The world won't collapse.
It's with the same tomorrow.
Yeah, just take a day off. Go have a walk. Everything will wait for you, so you won't lose anything. So that's very important. Just so they can say, "I had a tough day. I won't come tomorrow." It's okay.
And the people that have a mental breakdown are most of the times the people that seem to be the strongest one because they do not ask for help. How easy is it to ask for help? How easy? And I know that Iva will tell me that I can't ask for help because I want to do it on my own. So we have to allocate things. We have to give responsibilities to other people as well. And that's a bit difficult if you're a controlling person and you want to control everything.
That's me.
Like she said, being afraid to depend on someone, like Iva's worst fear.
So I know
have to do everything by myself.
Is in internal medicine, and Ines, you're in cardiology right now.
It's part of internal medicine, so she's my boss.
But you're mostly in the cardiology discipline.
Yeah, but that's on internal medicine, and in cardiology there is just my mentor and me, and I'm doing both cardiology and internal medicine because we have a shortage of staff in that way. So
always
we always do what we can.
You're doing your best. Leah, tell us a bit about your multicultural team in Fekava. Is that like a family as well? And I think this is why you thrived, because FECAVA is a very, very supporting group. And I have to say, even if the podcast is emitted in the US, I have to be very proud of Europe and the work that has been done in this level, at the FECAVA level.
It is amazing when somehow I have some activities in WCVA, so it's a World Veterinarians Small Animal Association, but it's completely different relationship. Europe is really big, okay, but so many countries, so many languages, so many cultures, and we are all doing the same job, having the same problems, having the same medications, having the same clients, diseases, pets. We are all the same. So wherever you work, whenever you come at this one place, when you sit around the table, you talk about the same problems. And it's a network of people that really easily can point to certain problems, talk about them, how would I say, all together work on them.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's a huge number of vets. It's twice per year. You go home, you deal with your everyday problems, life, job, and you have to think about certain things that are somewhere there. It is nice. I learned a lot. I learned about the colleagues, about the communication, about the problems. It's not something that you can materialize. You cannot always, it's not something that someone will recognize. It's a network of people working something for the veterinary community, either related to medications, policies, animal welfare, mental well-being of a vet. Because
yes, but seeing your
every day there is
relationship,
a change, and it's going. The world is
it's
going
an
on.
ongoing process.
Artificial
I see what
intelligence,
you're saying.
telemedicine, whatever, regulations. So it's there. You have to somehow,
Yeah.
drive that road. And
I know, but it always gave me this sense of family in the councils, and in your meetings.
yeah,
That
we are all really colleagues and friends. And my kids, if they would ever travel somewhere, whatever would happen, I would say go to first veterinary clinic.
easy. That's very important.
Everything, they will take
That's
care of
very
you.
important.
So just any country, anywhere in Europe, whatever happens. And I'm sure it would be like that. In Greece, in Luxembourg, Sweden, Italy, wherever, it will be figured. Something would happen.
That's the human-centric character of Europe, because I've traveled a lot. I've traveled in the Middle East, I've traveled in Asia. The human-centric character of Europe is like nothing else.
Yeah, I said, wherever you would live, everywhere in the world you would live. We can say whatever we want, but we live in a bit center of the world, however it can sound.
And a cultural one.
Yeah,
Cultural.
so many hearts and very near, and we are very connected. So
yes,
I'm happy.
What about AI? What do you think about artificial intelligence and how this will change the future of medicine? Are you scared that it will replace probably the...
Just to say it short, I don't know if you know that you have a chat GPT for vets, and it will go together with the systems for any young vet, as now the clients are coming already with all the findings, reports, scans of the X-ray, blood work. They just put it in ChatGPT and they give them everything. So now it's in Croatia as well. So you have a ChatGPT for vets. You can try it for free. It's a system that can go with your system where you work and put whatever you put in your daily for a patient, the daily report. It summarizes it, and it gives you all kind of answers, and they're not bad. Just to be honest. Okay, more specialized you are, you will find more details that are not. For a young vet that started to work, it is an amazing help because you have to go and in a book, but that's where we are now, and
I don't disagree
end
that this is an amazing tool, and I think that the first one who will be affected will be the radiologist, because we have a great input and machine learning into X-rays.
Lab work as well.
But in terms of actual internal medicine, where, the people have to think and have to check what the chat GPT is saying, because young vets are not in the position to check if the information, and you can't imagine how many times we had wrong information from ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What do you think, girls? Eva, Ines, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it could be the perfect help, but also it's quite dangerous because of the owners. Because I think that they will use it against their pets, against their veterinarians,
And to put more
And-
pressure, but
I don't know. Yeah.
But
So
it's there.
that scares me a little bit.
It is there. We can unwrap.
Yeah, I know. I had cases. So we were afraid of the Google doctors
No, it's not.
10 years
No.
ago, and now
it's ChatGPT.
give me
Yeah.
back my Google doctor.
More afraid is not about the owners or the pet parents. What I'm more afraid is about us as vets relying only on
Yeah,
the
being lazy,
ChatGPT
being
algorithm in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of diagnostic approach. So I don't care about the owners because I will always know more than the owners, and I ought to know more. I'm obliged. I'm supposed
Yes.
to know more. The thing is that I don't want people to just rely on a diagnostic approach because we don't treat diseases, we treat patients. And patients are precision medicine now, which is the future, is individualized. It's not just a disease. It's like a patient that can have multiple diseases or different diseases staging as well. So it's not a common treatment. This is what I think, at least.
It can help, but we shouldn't rely on them exclusively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And very, very small quick-fire questions, and I'm going to let you go. And I know that Lea has to go to the airport as well. So what's the first thing you do when you go home after a tough shift?
Open the fridge.
Sorry, Eva, I didn't hear you.
Fridge.
You open your fridge. That's an instant, relief. Ines?
Well, usually play with the kids.
Lea?
I go for a workout.
The minute you get in, you just take your bag and you go for a workout? That's
I
great.
don't go at home. From the morning, I take it
You
with
just
me.
go home.
So I go.
No, I mean when you get home. When you get home after the workout, what's the first thing you do?
I eat.
You see?
So open the fridge,
Okay,
right?
now that you said about
The
eat,
moment I sit down, I pass away. So it's around, I don't know, midnight. So if I sit, faint.
what's your favorite Croatian dish that you could eat every day?
You know what, Sarma?
Yes, when I came, I think that you took me to the restaurant that we had. Yes. Ines?
Sarma sounds really good. When I'm thinking about Croatian dishes, yes, sarma.
Lea, you gonna say something different or that? Charma it is.
Just a second. You had to do that with your shoes now for 5 minutes. Dennis was cleaning the shoes, so it was very loud here. So
I'm gonna do a different podcast with Dennis. He's not gonna conquer our podcast right now.
yeah. So I don't eat meat, so it may be a problem, but I would say for Croatian strukla.
Good.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
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 It is.
Adrenaline junkies.
Okay, if your pet could talk for a minute, what would they say to you? I know what my pets would say to me.
Release the leash so I can kill somebody. Probably that. I have a crazy dog.
Give me more food.
Yeah.
Eat.
Yeah.
So, marathon, apnea, and CrossFit. If you have to swap for sports, okay, which other would you do apart from the one that you're doing?
CrossFit.
Marathon. Well, you have to say
I
apnea.
would like.
So it goes like,
I would
Circle.
love apnea, but I don't know if I would fail.
No,
and
that's
then
enough.
I would
That's
go
enough.
for running forever.
So apnea. She said apnea.
So, okay, we just went a square further. So, one veterinary skill you would wish you could master instantly.
Oof.
Stethoscope.
Cardiology.
I'm hearing anything except beat of the heart. If there is
So
anything
cardiology-
else to hear, because I haven't heard it,
I'm a cardiology illiterate.
I
as
would
well.
really like to do
I can feel for you.
Yeah, me.
So yeah, cardiology. Yeah.
You? Ines?
No. But what I hear from this is that the cardiology is the coolest. So I don't know. Maybe neurology. It sounds so out of this world.
That's why she married a neurologist.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Kidding.
And the last one, I think, your dream vacation.
Wooden lodge in mountains.
I didn't hear because Dennis is killing me here.
And I'm not going to montage it, and I'm going to say who's bothering you. after that. I'm going to reveal the name. So, dream vacation.
Dream vacation. Base camp Mount Everest.
I think Mongolia.
Just cross.
That's great. Thank you very much for joining us at VetMore Podcast, where medicine, science, and stories come alive. Up until next time, stay curious and one species at a time. Thank you so much for being here, for dedicating your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate
Thank
it.
you
Have
for
a
having us.
great trip back home. Thank you, Ines. It was wonderful to have met you, even
Thank you.
through the podcast for the first time. And Iva, it was amazing to have seen you again. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me, and we will keep in touch.